Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckbuilder.com with this week's episode of the Market Monday. I was going to talk about the aftermath of the Pro Tour, but nothing really has changed too much. It was taken down by an energy deck, had some interesting decks in the top, the top 8, but if you go beyond the top 8, a lot of the 33, 37s, 36s finishes, which was all energy dominant. So I think that we can take away that yes, you can be successful from the Pro Tour, running non-energy decks, but energy is probably still the way to go moving forward, especially if we are going to see some innovation with a lot of the decks like the God Pharaoh's Gift-based decks. I am only going to personally quit playing God Pharaoh's Gift because I think it's a dead archetype now, because people will just pack the hate. In fact, I might release a video series of me queuing up right after the Pro Tour and playing 3 out of the 5 decks against the U-White God Pharaoh's Gift deck, and completely destroying them with well-timed Lost Legacies. And I was playing cards like Hostage Taker, which was just really, really powerful versus those type of decks. But anyway, that's a video for another day. Today, I want to talk about buyer's fatigue, maybe, or just being cautioned with the amount of reprints coming out. I think November's been the most busy month for Wizards in history. We have Explorers Vixlon coming out. We have an Unset coming out. We have Iconic Masters coming out. We have the From the Vaults Transform come out, and I just don't think there's enough capital to go around to really purchase all of these products. I think that one of them is going to be a dud. I don't know. I know they really wanted to get in the Q4 like buyer rush, and right now, right before Black Friday, release a bunch of products, maybe have get in on that Christmas action. But they released the gift boxes. There's just so much out there that it's really making me scratch my head about what their game plan is to be successful with all of them individually. Oh, not only that, but they re-released Commander. So there's just so much product out there for people to buy. As a shop owner myself, I'm quite nervous about a lot of these products. In fact, Iconic Masters doesn't even look like it's worth buying anymore. Of course, there have been some pre-orders. We are going to fulfill their pre-orders, but it's just a lot of capital to sit on in Q4 if they're going to release a ton of other stuff. Iconic Masters is, you can look over on eBay, they're selling for really dismal prices, down in the words. I saw them a couple days ago for $165 shipped, which I don't know how that is feasible after eBay takes its 10% cut. And these are actually awkward boxes to ship because they don't fit in the padded envelope, which a lot of people do send regular booster boxes in because they have that awkward little lift on them. So I don't know. Again, most of you aren't shop owners, so you don't have the same woes that I do, but we're sitting on a lot of product that didn't sell from other past sets, and a lot of these are making me nervous, just the way that the cards that they choose to reprint. So we'll talk about that, and especially From the Vault Transform. It seems like that Wizards recently has been reprinting recent sets like crazy. From the Vault's Transform is what I would consider very recent sets, except for the ones that did get reprinted in the Innistrad block. But Origins wasn't that long ago, and neither was Shadows or Innistrad block. So I think this was just too soon for the Transform. Maybe they could have gone back. It doesn't feel like a From the Vault set. It feels like just something recent. So Explorers Vixlon, I was hoping for some other cards to make it worthwhile. Currently, the most expensive card in the mix is going to be, I believe, the Aggravated Assault, and we also do have the Time Warp, which is pretty good. Both those cards did need reprint. I'm actually surprised they hit $15 cards in something like this. So Time Warp, of course, $15 card, and Aggravated Assault, which had recently gone up to $17. Both of these will probably have about a 40% discount out the gates, as they are not played in any of the modern formats, but are very, very popular cards in the Commander format. So Time Warp especially is something that I think a lot of blue decks will appreciate in EDH, and Aggravated Assault I've talked about in the past, how this has infinite combos with both Nahab the Eternal. It's by far the best card that I can draw with my Nahab deck because it can make me go infinite as soon as turn 5, or even earlier if I have a Soul Ring to pump out Nahab. This is the broken card in the combo. And Savage Ventmaw can also go infinite with Aggravated Assault. I'm sure there's other cards that go infinite with this card, but the theory behind Savage Ventmaw is it adds 6 mana, your mana pool doesn't empty, you untap other creatures, get another attack phase. Nahab, same thing, you attack in. You do need to figure out one more point of damage with Nahab. but you swing in for 4 with Mayhem into an open player. You add at least 4 your second main phase. Again, if you have some other way that taxed your opponents, then you will add the 5, untap it, and then you can kind of go infinite with attacks with it. So those are much appreciated reprints. There's also the Quicksilver Amulet that had been creeping up in price for the past year or two. But it was kind of disappointing with the dinosaurs. We do have the Regisaur Alpha. My last market video was kind of a dud because my number 2 pick was Regisaur Alpha because I completely spaced it that it was in this product. But I'm not sure how much it will affect an in-print card. If it's definitely not going to get the discount that you're going to see from other cards that just have extremely low supply. I talked about it in my Rogue Market video, why I like Regisaur Alpha post-rotation. We've seen cards like Courser of Crewfix be fine having a printing in a box set and still hold a good value. I think the same was true with like Whip of Erebos. Even like cards like Verdant Catacombs have been in like printed sets and they still can hold really good price tags. So I think the Regisaur Alpha could still have that $5 mark post rotation when or if like a Naya or a Jund or just a dinosaur mid-range deck is a key deck in that next format. But for now though, you should expect the Regisaur Alpha to fall substantially in price. It's not seeing any play in standard. Everyone has picked them up for their dinosaur decks, and then it's going to be going down to like the $1.50 mark, maybe $2 under, and then I think that's a good time to pick up it then. I was quite disappointed the other rare that they chose for this is the Burning Suns Avatar, since those already had, what, 3 prints? It was in the buy a box, right? And I thought it had another like box set printing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was in like the Hotley deck, the Planeswalker deck, but I could be wrong there. There wasn't any other like Ripjaw Raptors or Raging Ferocidons, or even in the white, like look, white only had 3 cards in the color scheme for dinosaurs. They didn't have like the Consolidated Sunwing and things like that. So it's kind of an awkward little deck. I was hoping for a Boros Charm in here too, but we do get the Lightning Helix, which is a good one. And then you do see this Gem of Path to Exile. So right now I'm going to card sphere off all my Path to Exiles. We have tons of them. Modern's kind of dead at my store. So I'm going to trade those off because I think this is going to be something that Path to Exile is going to be just reprinting. I think it's had a yearly reprint now forever, whether it's been in a big set or just in these supplemental products, this card. And it does need to continue to be reprinted because it's the most played card in Modern, or it bounces between that, Lightning Bolt, and Fatal Push, whichever the flavor of the week of removal is. So Path to Exile, of course, needs to get those constant reprints. I would say the same thing with Lightning Helix, as it's such a flexible card. Starting to see a lot more play in the Jeskai Tempo deck that has come out recently. And so this is, of course, a nice little addition to the reprints. You can see is also being reprinted in Iconic Masters. So if you have any Lightning Helixes, you can find any buyers. Right now is probably the time to get out of them and rebuy into them. That's the theory of the nature of the beast here in Magic the Gathering Finance. You always you buy low, sell high. So, and sometimes you got to cut your losses. You just need to know the price point. So if you never want to be stubborn. You never want to stick to a card and be like, oh, well, I lost my opportunity. I'm just going to hold on it now. A lot of times your opportunity will be better in a month or 2 months when it bottoms out even more. You can buy in again. And then you can say, oh, I'm glad I sold these Lightning Helixes out at $3. Now they're down to $1.50. You buy back, spend that $3 you sold the Lightning Helix, buy back in, rinse and repeat. Then there is going to be very, very clear trends. I think the Modern meta game is pretty much solidified now. It's the more sets that are introduced into Modern, the less and less impactful cards are going to become. So Lightning Helix has definitely solidified itself as a staple. Same with Path to Exile. They're going to have these nice little roller coaster type effects when they get the reprints in Modern. So if you have any of these other cards, of course, they should be sells, because there is, if you add up all of the deck lists, what are we looking at? Like it's going to be over $130, $125 of product that you're going to get for $64.99. Yeah, that's a little bit rough. Usually I like to see in reprinted sets at least like a 4 times multiplier. You can even see like Commander. When Commander came out, it had an insane multiplier of how much value you got in the Commander box sets, especially the 2016 Commander sets. And then you saw all those $5 cards crash down to $1 or less after it had been reprinted. So it's kind of a mirage here, or a facade. I don't know what the correct term to call it here, with the price like, oh, I get $65 for double that value in cards. Not really. You can probably add up all the $5 cards and then discount them by 40%. And that's the sheer value that you have in the deck. A lot of the commons too are untradeable. Sometimes I like box sets because you can get some commons that actually do have real world value and then card sphere them off to people that are looking for those for cubes and commander decks and whatnot. But in these, a lot of these are just kind of meh. Poor Vampire Nighthawk gets another reprint. This card has been reprinted into oblivion. I mean, look how many times this used to be a $1 card, and it stubbornly held on its value and just been reprinted forever, and it gets another reprint in this box set. So anyway, a lot of cards from the new set. That's fine. They want to showcase the new set, but you can't even count on commons in this set, like the 25-cent ones, because none of these do have real world value. The Skymarch Bloodletter does not have real world value. Even the Vampire Interloper, Queen Base Soldiers, these type of cards, Child of Night, they do not have any real world value. You cannot sell them. There's just too many stock out there. And if you do sell them, you're looking at pennies, not the price tag that it shows. Like this shows 14 cents. Yeah, good luck doing that. Same thing with the Skymarch Bloodletter. So nothing interesting at all stands out right now in the Vampire. Zealous Persecution, I do think does have real world value. So does Mortify, but they've both been recently reprinted. See if there's any other gems here. Urge to Feed, no, not really. Day of Judgment, this was, I mean, it's fine. I would have preferred another board wipe in this slot, but this is always a welcoming card. It doesn't really see a lot of modern play because Wrath of God is just superior to Day of Judgment, but EDH decks, of course, love this deck. And I think this is the first reprinting of Day of Judgment, or did it have an M set? I can't remember if this one did have a core set printing as well. Now my internet is being fickle. We'll look at that later. So another Vanquisher's Banner. This is a card that I have been keeping my eye on. If this does bottom the price out, again, I don't think this is going to affect the price too much, maybe 10 to 20% of the Vanquisher's Banner. But at that point, I would say after Rivals of Ixalan is done drafting, Vanquisher's Banner is something you should pick up quite highly because it's the most played card in Ixalan in EDH. And those typically have a very good trajectory. It's not seeing any standard play, so this $2 price tag is really just from all the tribal decks in Commander, picking one of up these, the Krenko decks, all of the decks that use any sort of tribal theme are going to be playing the Vanquisher's Banner type card. It's a very powerful card in the EDH. It does two things at once: gives them an Anthem effect and draws you a card. So we have a Shielded by Faith, which was a popular card for Commander again that gets a reprint, which is, it's a very good proactive card in EDH. You can put on a creature, then swap it over to your Commander when it comes into play. So it has, this is another card that has been sneaking up in value, I believe. Man, either the site's down or we can't look at price strategies there. Let's look at the Pirate deck here. Again, the commons, we didn't see any commons that desperately needed reprints from older sets. These are all Ixalan with the creatures. The Adaptive Automaton had been swinging up, but this card is going to crash in value. The 40% mark, I think, is actually quite real for this card. And then nothing else out of creatures has any sort of real world value, especially some of the rares they chose to put in this. The Dreamcaller Siren is a card I think you should keep your eye on, because if we do get some other good flying pirates in the next set, the tribal pirates could be a good tempo strategy in the standard. I think it has almost all of the pieces there. Dreamcaller Siren, I think, is actually a very powerful card in that list. So Hostage Takers, Dreamcaller Sirens, then you have a lot of that. But we probably do want another like 2 or 3 drop card that's very significant for pirates, which I do expect to get in the next set. So I think if any tribe can break through, and especially in this energy-dominated format, it's going to be the pirates. I think Seth Safronov did play a Pirate God deck to a 5-0 finish in the format. I'm not sure if it ran Dreamcaller Sirens, but it was a tempo feel to it, and I do like this card. But this might just be the nail in the coffin for this card to... you really want to check spoiler season and then check the week 1, week 2s to see if pirates should do well, and then pull the trigger on these. You can probably find them for 10 cents, a quarter a piece, after the dust settles with this type of deck. Blatant Thievery just had a reprint, but it got another one. It's a popular card in Commander, but this is going to get hit with the $1 mark. It's going to probably go down to 50 cents. A few Prismatic Lens is a popular to common, but this is, of course, going to be the nail in coffin for this going up in value. These are the type of cards I do like to see in the supplemental products, because this 46 cents is the 23 cents per Prismatic Lens is real. It's not like another 20-cent card that isn't real value. There, I mean, like the Coat for Venom, for example. This is a card you can't sell. It's going to be hard to trade. It's going to be hard to sell. So this 15 cents is just because people put a low price on it. That's 15 cents is about where you need to be for a card to actually pay for the stamp that you're sending the card in, just the weight of the card. So yes, but the prismatic lens, however, is cards that do have high demand. You can actually trade these off. So this is the type of card that I highly suggest you check out a trading service, especially CardSphere. I think CardSphere has proven itself. I've had a lot of success even trading cards like this off. The more people that get in the format. Right now, I think that the CardSphere is saturated with more of the finance type guys like myself and needs more of the casual players. And it's actually beneficial for them because you'll be able to pick up cards for cheaper on CardSphere than you're going to get on TCG Player Low. And I think that the more people get in that, we're going to start seeing the price stabilize more and creep up in value. And anyway, that's my little plug for CardSphere there. Shared Animosity, this card was really creeping up in value. And it's already started to go down because this one was spoiled early in the set. So I'm trying to figure out a good price point for the Shared Animosity. $9 to $10 is probably, yeah, I'd say even a little bit higher. It could stabilize off for this particular card. And the Crumbling Necropolis just had recent reprints, and so there's no real value from there. The Merfolk is probably the most disappointing one. There was a lot of good Merfolk in the past that I think could have gone in this deck. Soul the Harvest just had a ton of reprints, and this was out of a welcome deck, so the quantity of these are just crazy that are out there. And again, they chose all Merfolk. Besides the Merfolk Sovereign, which is the weakest lord that they could have chosen, Lord of Atlantis, of course, or we do have, of course, the Goblin versus Merfolk deck that did have some good reprints for this one coming out, but this is going to crash in price even more. And yeah, nothing too exciting here. The Threads of Disloyalty. This card was only expensive because being out of the Kamigawa block, it just didn't have a lot of supply out there. It's typically only like a one of or two of in modern decks, and has been outclassed recently by other cards that kind of fulfill this slot. So Rancor is a nice welcome reprint again. I think this one will hold its value. This is one of those cards that gets reprinted quite often, but it still maintains that price because there is demand for it in casual decks, and it does see play every now and again in modern based strategies. And yeah, it's a pretty staple card as far as like just the stompy based strategies for Magic since it's been printed. So then we already talked about the Dinosaur. There's just what I'd like to see. So overall, I think that this isn't something you want to invest in. The Explorers of Ixalan. It might be a fun little board game to play, but that's just going to increase them, and that might actually hold some value because maybe people will keep these together and play them just like a board game, so less of them will enter into the market. But at the moment, I think that early vendors are going to just open these up for the cards and sell them off if they can, make a profit off them, because you got to assume that vendors are getting this for $37 probably or 27 20 or yeah, probably around $30 is where they're 27, 28, $30. And at that point, they can piece off. If they can just sell the Time Warp and the Aggravated Assault for half of that, they've made $18 back, and they can scrounge together another $20. I mean, it's paid for itself, and then the rest of it can just be the profit over time. Sometimes with stores, that's where you make your money on these little nickel cards that people do end up buying from the store. But for a person without a store, I don't think it's worthwhile to crack these and piece them out. So we'll have to wait and see how badly the prices get affected by this. But it could be one of those sets though that people do just sleeve up, keep it in, and play it like a board game. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the From the Vaults Transform. So this one I'm very disappointed in because I think it was just too soon with this. None of these cards really had any good value. And these are expensive. No, these aren't that expensive, right? The MSRP for these are what, $35 for the From the Vaults? I think that's it. So it's not terribly expensive, but the cards that have real demand, the Liliana, the Jace, the Nissa, I would say all of these. The problem with it is they already were Comic-Con prints, so people already have foil versions, different versions of these out there, and it was just kind of weird that they chose to do it this quick. Like, I think this was a good product in 2 years, or I know they just had a Transform set, but what was even more confusing is they just printed one out of the new set, and it ended up being the worst one. Like, literally the worst one. I would say maybe the red card sees less play. Argos Bloodfast is starting to see a little bit of play in some token, like some hidden stockpiles-based strategies, or some black-blue control-based strategies, as just to have a way to draw cards. I mean, it's a greed. It's a little a different printing of greed. It very rarely transforms, and a lot of people don't like it to transform when it does, as then it turns into what a high market after it transforms. We can click on it here. Yep, it turns into a high market. So yeah, it's just that it's. I think that this would have been a lot better if they could have either put the Legion's Landing in here, or the Search for Azcanta, or even the Growing Rights. Like, any one of them would have, I think, taken this product to borderline unbuyable to something that is feasible to buy. So Archangel Avacyn, of course, is still free falling. So is Arlinn Kord. They both rotated. Bloodline Keeper has been spiking up, so that one, of course, was a huge hit. Gisela and Bruna hold very little real world value, and Origins is just too soon. This card is barely starting to go up in value. This is about the time when Constance Tarkir, we've approached the 3-year mark from when these sets were released. They flatlined out, and the casual EDH commander type, if they do see very little modern play, I don't think any of these see any real huge, like Liliana every now and again to collect a company base decks, and Nissa every now and again in Tooth and Nail or other strategies that ramp up to things. They see some play, and Jace every now and again does see some play as well. Kytheon, I'm surprised humans haven't actually adopted Kytheon in the mix, as I think that when this transforms, it's pretty powerful. But Chandra is very, very it's played just, I would say, just casual. It's I don't even have it in a lot of decks that run type. I know that Rakdos likes it. That's about it that I can think of in EDH. So Eldritch the Binding Blade has no real world value. And then we get the Delver's Secrets, which actually I do think was going to be the chase card because it has alternate art and is foily. So this is the big hit out of the set. It really depends on how much Delver can hold value to whether or not this is going to be worth it or not. Because there is nothing special about most of these cards being in the foil version because they already exist, well, at least these 5. And then a lot of these also cards just don't have the demand besides the Bloodline Keeper. And the Garruk is just a card that's never really found a home in a lot of the EDH stuff, as it is the identity of it is black-green, and it's just something, yeah. And same with Huntmaster. Huntmaster just is something that has just never hit its stride in Modern. It will see play in Jund every now and again, then fall out of favor, and then see play. So let's just go over to the prices of the non-foil versions of these, because From the Vaults are weird. Sometimes they have value of being foil, sometimes they just mimic the just the non-foil prices. So if you add it all together, you're getting $100 in value of non-foil, but the real value is held between Jace and Bloodline Keeper, and again, whatever the Delver becomes. And the rest of them, though, I think this is pretty accurate of what they're going to sell for. Archangel Avacyn possibly could go for higher. Huntmaster possibly could go for higher. But yeah, I don't think so. So Eldritch the Binding Blade, I think this is going to crash the price of it. So for $35, I guess this is a win if you can get in for $35. But you got to expect a lot of the stores are just going to piece them out and sell them. If the Delver does make it worthwhile. Again, the vendors are going to be able to get these in for like $18, $20, and it just might just be worth it for them to piece it out and sell it if there is demand for specific pieces of it, and then just hold the rest of the cards 4 years down the road when they actually do have demand. So overall, I do think it was just too soon for my tastes here, and it needed more of the newer set transform cards that were even Treasure Map would have been something that I would prefer over Argos Bloodfast. It's very funny that they decided to really focus on the transform and have the majority of the cards. I mean, did they split from the blocks 5 into Origins? No. So yeah, really focus on the Origins that already had the special printings, and the Innistrad got 4 cards, and the rest from the recently rotated shadows that are still free falling in value. So that's just kind of my spiel. So the overall topic is what my question for you is do you personally have kind of buyer's fatigue even as a store, we kind of do. It's just like, oh, another product we have to invest in. November's been a weird month for us. Now, bigger stores, they might just love this. So I'll do a Gone Roger this week to show you how the store, I haven't done a Gone Roger episode in quite some time, so I'll show you how our store has progressed. My store is very, very unique because, just let me give you the history of Gone Roger games. I and my business partner didn't really have any free capital to invest in a store. When Zach, my business partner, I think he worked for he cleaned oil refineries. He traveled, and so he did have some. When he got sick of his job, and now it just sounds miserable. He'd be gone for weeks at a time, and so we had a store in our area, and it closed down. And then we decided that we wanted personally a place to play. Like, Zach and I were probably the biggest Magic players in our area. In this little tiny town called Richfield, Utah. Reason why I'm here is family. It was like where my family was at. It was just a good opportunity for me to move down here. I'd been living in Salt Lake at the time, had gone through, I've talked about this in the past, had gone through a really terrible relationship that killed my self-esteem, killed a lot of my relationships with friends. I was in a job I absolutely hated. And so when the opportunity for me to move down here came in, it was a good little opportunity, and I took it. And then when the store closed down, we decided, hey, let's go for it. We've always wanted to open up a store, but we knew that we never expected it to really be a big breadwinner. It's not my primary income. It's not Zach's primary income for how we survive. So we're a unique store that doesn't have a lot of money, to throw at a lot of these products and sit on them. We need products to move. We can't afford to buy into a product and have it sit on the shelf. For us to grow, we need our capital to continue to move as quickly as possible, so we can rebuy into other products that move as quickly as possible. And some of these will be good for the waiting game. From the vaults, definitely are good for the waiting game. You buy into them, you stick them on your shelf, you sell a few every month. They continue to increase in price, and eventually make the good profit margins 3-4 years down the road when someone's like, oh, I started Magic 2 years ago. I want to collect all from the vaults. I want to buy this one. And that happens in bigger areas. Like if we did have a store in one of the bigger cities like Cedar City or St. George or Salt Lake or Provo, some of these areas in Utah that have the population, unfortunately, a lot of them are oversaturated, and then you're looking at higher rent and all those things. So I'm sure that they have woes too that they have to deal with turning product quite quickly. And the problem with everything coming out in November is, like I said, inevitably one of these is going to be a bust, whether it be the Goblins versus Merfolk deck, whether it be the Explorers of Ixalan, whether it be the Unset, whether it be Iconic Masters, which is actually what it's looking like, whether it be this from the vaults. I don't think there's a lot of opportunity for stores to have huge hits on all of them. So that's where I stand with it. Iconic Masters is another huge worm, because Iconic Masters actually is a pretty good set at the moment. Let's just look at the value of Iconic Masters here. Isn't that? Yeah, Iconic Masters. The value, I think, is quite similar to Modern Masters 3. It's pretty decent. Wait for it to pull up here. I don't know what's up with the internet, but I believe that the estimated value, you can go check out. I think Seth did an article on the expected value of Iconic Masters. It is slumping though, so that's a bad sign actually. But I think it was around here. It was expected value was very similar to Modern Masters 3. Can it hold that? Like, we're really having free falls with some of these cards that, like Grove, this definitely needed to hold a higher price tag than just the $19. And I think that the main reason is just it's fallen out of favor in Modern. Thoughtseize, of course, I still expect this to continue to slide in value with Iconic Masters. But if you go over to like the TCG and eBay, I've seen some of these sell for extremely low, the $170 mark. And that is just very concerning to me. For me as a store, I am scared to dump some money into Iconic Masters. So, the problem is I've already pre-sold some of these, so I don't want to screw over the people I've already pre-sold some of these to and then just bottom these out. But it might be the point that Zach and I will just, if you're interested in Iconic Masters, I don't know what price we can sell them to you at, because I don't know if we're going to actually we're going to fulfill the orders we have, but I don't know if we're going to buy our full allotment for Iconic Masters if it continues to free fall on the TCG and the eBay market. And same thing with Explorers of Ixalan. and whatnot. So if you're interested in cheap prices of those, we could be definitely selling those for quite cheap coming up if we can get the demand for people that just want to kind of fulfill our order. Patreon is the best way to do that. All of my patrons get a discount of all sealed product, and I do have some tiers. I think I'm going to rework my Patreon for some different tiers if you want to be kind of a part of the Gone Rogue Games brand and get in on cheap prices and help us kind of, because the whole thing is a lot of times we have the opportunity to buy like 50 Iconic Masters, but with the capital that we have with Christmas coming up, we're also needing to restock into board games and everything else that we'll be selling during this last little mad rush for Christmas. I don't think that we're gonna fulfill our whole allotments on any of these, from the vaults, on the Iconic Masters, on the Explorers of Ixalan. And so there might be some opportunity to those of you that are loyal to the channel, loyal to the brand, that we can scratch your back, give back to all those. So let me know, send me a message, and I'll be more transparent about our situation here. I don't want to sound like doom and gloom. Let me go back to my story. I am very, very proud of what Zach and I have been able to accomplish. I do not recommend anyone to get into retail at this day and age. Your customers, especially if you live in the middle of nowhere, are used to buying on Amazon and eBay, and it's almost like you have to compete with them. And so a lot of people are like, oh, you're the only store in a 100-mile radius. Yeah, I'm the only store in a 100-mile radius, but my competition is eBay. That's worse than being in like Salt Lake, where your competition is other local game store that's selling them MSRP. I'm actively having to compete with eBay and TCG Low and all these other ones. I get these, we get customers that will only buy at that price. So anyway, but a little bit of history about the store. We've gone from very, very little capital. We're talking about maybe a couple grand to start the initial inventory of the store, and I think that we have a pretty good little brand going here that is worth tens of thousands of dollars now just in product, and a lot of money just in singles. I mean, I could just piece out all the commander decks I've been able to build since the Gone Rogue Games have been open for the last 2 years, and it's thousands of dollars right there in those type of stuff. So it's fun, it's fulfilling to run a store, but it's incredibly risky. Incredibly risky, especially like times like this when they just dump a ton of product on you and you don't know how it's going to go. And the days of where you can recoup your money on eBay and TCG Player, when a set does completely bottom out, you're looking at losses by the time that you ship the product out, the time that you put in, and when eBay and TCG Player take their cut. And so it's the days are numbered with small stores to just be able to buy unfulfilled product or product that you're not gonna be able to sell and just flip it on eBay. So anyway, I don't know. This is kind of a weird Market Monday. I'm just rambling about just random finance stuff. I'll get another, of course, the Rogue Market will come out later this week. It probably will be under a paywall for Quiet Speculation. They do want to just buy that series, but I'm probably to give back to the fans too, just do another one on my site per day, and it's going to be the more, or per week. It's going to be the more streamlined, more highly edited, and less rambly. I like kind of the mix of both, where I just go off on a topic and talk about it. A lot of you do get some insight. I think I give a unique perspective as a player, as a brewer, as a before I owned a store, as a person that took a $100 collection and turned it into an $8,000 collection through trades, and now as a store owner who's gone from literally, we bought a closet. We bought an upstairs of our main street here in Richfield it's not where businesses want to be. They all have been moving out to where the Walmart built the Walmart, and so all the businesses kind of moved over to there. So we're kind of in the old, what we call Main Street, and we found an upstairs thing that hadn't been rented out in like 4 years, and fixed it up and traded work for rent to get the store. And I mean, so I do know the grind. I'm very experienced in how to turn very slim little profit margins on these little penny bulk cards into actually profit value. And we did a lot of that through online selling and online trading, and just finding opportunities at GPs to liquidate our stocks. Right now, I think it'd be a very, very good idea too, if you're going to a GP within the next couple months, to completely liquidate your you might have until the spring, but definitely by the spring, to liquidate all of your rotating cards in the fall, to GPs. Sometimes those last Grand Prix, there can be some buying sprees by one or two vendors that are just low on stock because they anticipated a certain stock. We did that. I can't remember the store we did it on, where we got such amazing price on all of our Shadowverse Innistrad and Battle for Zendikar right there at GP Vegas on day 2, because just one of the vendors was low on inventory. They were just extremely low, and so they bumped up all their prices, and we were able to sell at some crazy slim margins. So there's a lot of those techniques that I'll continue to talk about in these Market Monday videos. But if this isn't your cup of tea, if you like the more professional look that I did with the Rogue Market, definitely go check that out. Again, many of those will be under the paywall, but I'll give out the free versions as well on the YouTube channel. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel for today. My question to you is, do you have kind of the buyer's fatigue? Are you still investing in Magic as much as you used to, or at least buying these products? Where is this too much product that's being released all at once? Are you personally buying Iconic Masters? Are you personally buying Explorers of Ixalan? Or, I mean, are you picking one? Are you buying all of them? It just seems like even with Christmas is good for non-Magic players to buy Magic players presents, but the vice versa is there as well. I mean, we have a lot of money. You know, I'm setting aside a lot of money to buy gifts for all of my family and whatnot. So it's like, I got to cut back on my own entertainment spending. And it's kind of a crazy time right now. And I just want to get your insight on where you stand with the reprints and where you think, is this something that's going to happen every Q4 every year? We're just going to get barfed on with a ton of products coming out. Anyway, this has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.